Right. The chief just did.
If you haven't looked at the inside of the book, and those of you that know can't, well, I shouldn't say that because then nobody would answer. Those of you that we've talked about it with can't answer, but what house is pictured on the cover of the booklet?
Engine 30.
It's engine 30. Before they cut off 17 feet and put a new front on, but pretty classic looking place. We're just about ready to go. We're kind of hoping a few more people might show up that are missing. The expressways are pretty delayed, so we're just about ready. Hey Andy, you're the tiller man back there.
Hello, Jim. How you doing?
Yeah.
Pretty good. Good.
No, I stopped over by Chris.
Deans of the CFD.
Then we met Mark and the CFD.
There's a bell.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How does that sound? Andy Thompson's going to be my tiller man and sound man in the rear there. How's it sound, Andy? Can I hear you? Can't hear a word.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. Okay, we'll start out officially with KSC 711, Chicago Fire Department testing. Unofficial. Somebody once said, why do you insult the firemen every morning at 9 o'clock? You call them nuts. Because you say, Maine to all you nuts. Is that the way it sounds? That's not what it's intended to be. Anyway, Jeff Burke from Milwaukee brought the weather along as well as his wife, and he said he's going to take credit for the weather, and so we have to thank him for that. And it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day, and we will have an opportunity to take a few pictures. At 112, we'll have the tower ladder and the command band. And somehow I was able to finagle to have my son detailed to 112 today, so I don't know how that worked out, but it worked out very well. And they were doing hydrants this morning to get it over with, so they'd be available. I said, well, don't have any fires between 12:30 and 1:30 or so. So we're all set there. And as you're, I'm sure, aware that this is the first time we've been giving this north side tour, and when Chris and I did some dry runs on it, and did some what we call timing the routes, checking the one-way streets and the viaducts, and, so that we can have a smooth trip, and did the timing between the various locations listed on our tour booklet. Why we sort of got much more enthused about it, and I hope you will be enthused too, because the north side, for the most part, is well built up. It's not run down. There are a few areas along Winthrop and Kenmore that are not the world's best, but
Unlike Milwaukee's north side.
oh no, I'm not going to say that. Although, you know, it's easy to quote Chris or anybody else, because that way you're really not responsible for making the comment. You're really making, quoting someone else or restating someone else's ideas. But this is all a big friendly tour. And, but I'm sure I'm going to show you some locations that you've never been in. See some former firehouses that you maybe are not aware of because they haven't been occupied in many long years, and also to see the fireman's monument in Rose Hill, and through the courtesy of Frank McBeneman, Dr. McBeneman, why he has been able to publish Andreas's picture of the monument, and I just have the one copy.
We're in on Milwaukee, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn here to.
Yeah, hard left. Yeah, hard left, and then up the Splains in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do have a photo, Xerox copy of a photo, or actually more of a drawing maybe from Andreas's. And it'll show you what that monument looked. It was it had more extensive landscaping and around it. for anybody who's a Civil War buff or just a history buff, the Civil War graves up in Rose Hill are adjacent to the Fireman's Monument. We'll see them too. And they have all been, the headstones have all been replaced recently within the last couple of years. So they're all pretty fresh. So you might get a kick out of that. And
Bloomers was smelling real good when we came by this morning too.
yeah, I don't know if you could smell me. On our right is the Blommer Chocolate Factory, which always, I don't know if anybody really dislikes chocolate. It's the universal food. It's probably not the world's best for you, but it sure tastes good going down. For sure.
See if I can do this while my glasses. This is a problem.
Well, and also if you're switching between sun and regular, it's a pain. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to put Jim through his paces here. If you look on your left, you'll see this little electrical engineering building. That was one of the buildings burned during the gas explosion. This is where 57 was all alone for a while. Captain Duke Snyder, and he was calling for help, and yeah, they're all going past them up Milwaukee and everywhere else. Anyway, we thought we'd show you a little bit of old Chicago. This is
Look straight ahead.
yeah, look straight ahead, you'll see the firehouse. But so we're sort of approaching it from what would you call an oblique angle here or something. But this is used to be known as Curtis Street, and they call this part of it Crooked Curtis. And it's now Aberdeen, but as you can see, it sort of wanders. It's a North and South Street, but it is going northwest at this particular locale because of Milwaukee Avenue. And I thought we could see that fire ruins and also approach engine 14, which is number one on our tour booklet. And
We turn left at the corner.
what was interesting here, of course, is the city has owned the property since the 1860s. Engine 3 was reorganized here, already being reorganized. They had been at State Hubbard and taken out of service and then went back in here in the 1860s. Most of us remember the firehouse as Truck 19. And there were a couple of police stations located on the site also. And as you can see, engine 14, truck 19, 3rd Battalion Ambulance 53. The canteen is located there, one of the canteen 1.
We're going to go to Ashland and turn right.
And this neighborhood here, which is, I don't know, Eckhart Park is to the right, but the neighborhood is sort of West Town, or during the gas explosion, what were they calling it? River West, I think, or something. Is starting to, it has been a little bit hot in the real estate business. You know, now would be the time to be getting in. Maybe it's already passed, and the properties are purchased, and it's just a matter of time, either of getting the money or waiting as more and more rehabbing is being done, and then you do your rehabbing. But it definitely is coming back very, very strong here. You notice it's still a pretty good sized shopping district here, even on Sundays. Some of the stores are open here. We'll see if Ashland Avenue. You have to remember that all these buildings were remodeled because of the widening of Ashland Avenue, and that's what caused Engine 30's house to have that newer facade on there. And I don't know if you can see it, but they still have the neon fire department sign there. It hasn't worked or been lit up in many moons, maybe since World War II or so, but it's still there. And you know, neon lights are coming back in. You see a lot of window lighting with various brilliant colors. And it would be great if the fire department would light up some of the firehouses with the neon lights. It's an idea that they pioneered back in the late 20s and early 30s, and then let it lapse. But all these buildings you see here, it looks like they
corner, if you just want to
chopped off the buildings and then put the fronts back on or put new fronts. Anyway, the firehouse is coming up on your right here, right on the corner of Hatton. And Mark says they're out.
So, right in front of this. You don't really have to stop.
Oh, they're here. So, anyway, because of the remodeling, the rig just really fits in there.
We want to turn left on Division.
You notice on the picture on the cover, I think there are like 5 windows on the side, and there's only 4 now, so they lost a little bit of that building. We're going to take a left here on Division and go by Old Patrol 7's house, and I believe we have a picture, photo 1, courtesy of Bob Freeman. He met an old patrolio who was on 7 at the time and had the picture. Part of the parking lot.
Right on.
And if they pulled out, they could go straight south on Marshfield. When the station was abandoned around 1925, they moved over to 1044 Orleans with Patrol 5 and stayed there for a number of years until they built a house for them on Fullerton, 3109 Fullerton. It's an interesting little street here in Paulina. Houses on your left are all set back, which you don't see too often. On your right is the old post office. You can see the Pony Express logo there up on at the roof level. And run into a street here I'm sure that no one has really seen in a long time.
That's Lee Madison.
Lee Madison's the only one on the bus that knows Moorman Street, I'm sure. And Moorman runs up to Ellen. And Ellen has an intersection of Marion and Ellen. Two of my favorite girlfriends, as Jimmy and I used to kid. And the street is named, both streets are named for the same person, Marion Ellen Kinsey, who has been recorded in history as the first white child born in Chicago around 1805 or so.
Not too far. We're going to go to Evergreen, which is probably 3 blocks maybe, and we're going to have a left on Evergreen.
Which is still old street, old buildings, but still a very viable shopping center, particularly Saturday. Saturdays are lined up here. Just have to wonder, why don't we have more fires in all these old buildings? At one time we did. We had a fair amount of fires on Milwaukee Avenue. And generally, not all the time, but generally where you see a vacant lot, it's because we burned the building down.
There it is.
On the right here, you see a vacant lot coming up, and that was a building that extended over to Wood Street. Had a terrible fire, losing people there in a bitter, cold winter night many years ago.
Whoa, okay, we have to pull out. Get out of our way.
Yeah, Jim, our driver, said he came down from Elk Grove with lights and sirens, so we're going to put him to the test, I'm sure. We're making a little,
Go up to the right here. Just half right.
little side trip here, really, to show you Wicker Park. First off, there is a park called Wicker Park, and that's it on your right. Little triangular piece of property here. And it also gives its name to a neighborhood which has undergone quite a lot of rehabbing and gentrification, and is still going on. And the buildings on your left, for the most part, overlooking the park, are really nice buildings. One that's really exceptional. You see it right coming up here. He's got the stone front with the pillars. Seen on the left here, this is a beautiful building. We think built as single family, although it might be a 2-flat. Really unique. You can see rehabbing going on here. This street was called Fowler at one time, Fowler. The building on the corner was known as, on your left, was known as the Fowler Apartments. public school here, you notice, is named for Mr. Pritzker, A.N. Pritzker, who went to the original school, which was called the Wicker Park School. And people like Mike Todd, who was a film producer, married to Elizabeth Taylor. He grew up in the neighborhood. Trying to think, I think the Goldblatts lived in the neighborhood, possibly went to the school here when they were younger. Now, we're going to turn north on Moyne. Take a look at the buildings on the first two buildings on your right. Really, really nice buildings.
Check to see if the back's coming with us.
Andy, how's it look back there? You pulling in the fenders and skirts there? Notice the large houses, the relatively large lots too. There's a little, here there's not too much space, but nice corner lot here. Old church here on the corner. Across the street, some new construction. Somebody lost their jacket.
Yeah, he's probably dead.
When they talk of Wicker Park, they talk about the area both north and south of North Avenue. So this is the area south of North Avenue. Pierce is a beautiful street. I don't see, we're not going anywhere on Pierce, are we? No, we're going to go straight. But the block west, if you look to your left on Pierce, there's some beautiful homes there. That would be the 2100 block between Hoyne and 11th. There's the...
Why don't you stop right here for a second? We got a nice house over here and we got the cannon over here.
Yeah, they shoot buses. They shoot at buses that stop in the middle of the block here. We didn't tell Jim that. I'm glad Jimmy's with me. This is going to be a fun tour up here. I guess that was a home for old soldiers, Polish soldiers. This had a very predominantly Polish ethnic, neighborhood at one time.
This is probably a pre-Chicago firehouse right here.
Yeah, and we're looking at some of the old, let's see, must predate the Chicago fires. This area came into the city during the Civil War in 1863, and generally when annexations occurred, it was because the buildings were already built. The neighborhood was somewhat established, and they wanted to be part of Chicago. And yeah, I heard somebody mention L-Tracks. Oh yeah, the L goes through, and it's one of the big attractions because you could be downtown in 10 minutes from here.
Turn right on the light.
On your right, you see a court-shaped apartment building, probably from the 20s. The next building on the right is a building that's always been called Association House, and it's a community center, and has been here for a long time.
1905 was on the corner.
1905, I'll buy that. And we're going to turn north on 11th and show you a couple of the interesting buildings here. As we cross the alley just north of North Avenue, that is the location of the former Humboldt elevated line, which branched out from north of Damon, went out to Longdale Avenue. So if you notice, the property north of the alley is all cleared here because that's where the L-tracks were, right in here. They ran across here. If you take a look on your left, take a look at this old white frame house. That is an old building, just simply by the architecture.
We're going to turn right on this next slope. Now let this guy come through.
We got to watch ourselves here. I don't know exactly what that woodwork or lattice work is called there, but it's got to be an old building. We're going to try and take you down two interesting little streets here. One's called Caton, C-A-T-O-N.
I don't know.
As I said, we're going to try. If we can get in, yeah, we can. Yeah, two problems, getting in, getting out.
Well, we always make sure we can get out. If we can't get in, we know that.
Yeah.
One day when I was coming back downtown on the L from the airport, you could see these two little streets in here, Caden and Concord Place, and I didn't know exactly where they were, so I told Ken, you know, two pretty little streets around North Avenue and the L, and he says, oh sure, Caden and Concord Place, so we're going to go down these, and they're like little mini mansions in a little island of their own here. We made it.
Isn't this sort of a delightful little area here? Right alongside the elevated tracks, right alongside Milwaukee Avenue, which is all commercial and industrial to some extent, but they're only a block away, and you know, you're only a block from the L, you're only 2000 west, 2100 west, and
Try and come back on Concord.
1600 north. Yeah, we're going to try and loop the loop here and come back on Concord. And that's fun because that dog leg's into Milwaukee, so Jim will have to do a little, make the bus do a wiggle, as they say.
I don't know if I like your dry runs or not.
This is it right here.
Those are bicycles. As I say, they don't go on the bus.
Yeah.
We'll have to look right away and see how the clearance is right here.
Chris is telling Jim, gee, we didn't have any problem with our car. I don't know why you're having problems.
Oh, wow. That's the right here.
Yeah, just follow the street rock. It should be straight, the other end's pretty clear too.
Now, as you look here, it doesn't look like much, does it? Holy mackerel, what are they taking us down here for? Dirty old alley, elevated.
I began to wonder that too.
Yeah, Jim was wondering what the attraction here is too. These are more apartment buildings. If you take a look on the ones on the left that are coming up, they seem to be all connected. I don't know.
We got a truck up here.
Oh, well, no problem.
Park on the left doesn't.
We might knock his cardboard boxes
Just
off.
take a look. These buildings all seem to have connections on the left there. I don't know exactly what the. You see that?
He doesn't even know we're here.
They're moving here.
Yeah.
But
Thanks, Bill. Now, how are we going to do here?
Oops. Pretty tight here. We got a moving van on our right here.
No.
Whoops. Andy, I hope you're staring straight in the back there.
Made it. So far.
Everybody inhale.
Yeah. Everybody pull your feet up too. Don't put your weight down. Notice the building on the right here with the balconies here. You don't see that much in Chicago. Yeah, a little New Orleans style. If you notice that balconies and particularly decks are really in. Everybody likes to have a deck in the backyard or on the side. Anyway, we thought we would like to, we're so close, you know, our motto is, we'll never be any closer. So let's do it. And we have to loop around anyway to
I quit.
oh, Jim just quit. I think he's going to buy some real estate here. He's not BSing us here. He's going to check. Andy, did everything look good back there?
Somebody should have told me.
Yeah.
This looks like my popsicle.
Which way you want to go?
Right.
They want to try taking you.
No, we're not going to do that one again.
Jimmy wants to go down Peyton Street again. He does. He's going to walk it.
Yeah, see, this is good. They left the clearance here for these straight ahead.
I must tell you that rents in this neighborhood go $800–900 a month. Some of these buildings here. And of course, you run into this factory neighborhood right here. Automobile junkyard here, and as you know, that all has to be covered up. The street was blocked for a while because they were reinforcing all the L pillars. And you notice the elevator is exceptionally high at this point. You notice over to your left there because can see the viaduct there. The elevated goes over the old Milwaukee Road tracks along Bloomingdale. And right after the snorkels were first introduced, we had an elk, I guess it was an elk crash, one bumped the other or something, but they had to rescue people from, naturally was the highest point, and it was right at this locale here where they had the only way they could get people off the L trains was by snorkel. It would have been very difficult to get an aerial truck in there. The other way, they would have had to walk down the L structure itself, the tracks, to the closest point where they could get the people off.
Got a three-wheeler here.
Yeah. Now you're younger than your second child, but...
I've been Oakley, then Homer.
Next time you do the dry runs, trim the trees too.
Yeah, we run into that once in a while.
Jim came up with a goal. He says, next time you do the dry runs, can you trim the trees too?
Okay.
Yeah.
Little diagonal street here called Wilmot, W-I-L-M-O-T.
Okay, we turn right here. Homer, right?
Yeah, we're gonna
take us out to Demon.
Turn right on Homer. Notice the rehabbing going on in this neighborhood. This would be called Bucktown, and we really don't know why. Again, sort of the area was really sort of Polish for many years, although I think originally possibly German. And you notice, like on the right, some interesting architecture here. And they don't know where the word buck came from. At one time, the thought might have been that they kept goats. And then when the Polish moved in, they said they were very tight with a buck, so I don't know. But it is called Bucktown, and it seems to be intertwined a little bit with Wicker Park, but generally Bucktown may be north of Armitage too, and we're south of Armitage. So it's look how these cute little brick bungalows, all very old. I would imagine they're all maybe in the 1890s, 1900s or so, maybe even earlier.
And then you got a new
The
building.
earlier people, yeah, here's a new building. The early people who got in here in the last 10 or 15 years got some tremendous bargains. I would imagine some of these buildings were sold for under $20,000, because the neighborhood didn't seem to have any future. And the DePaul area and Old Town area, which is just east of us, east of the river, was filling up. And so people kept moving west, and this is the result. So it's fascinating. And all of this to come up to number 4, engine 35, truck 28, and the old 4th Battalion moved in here in 1973. It was very interesting. Firehouses in the 1900 block of both North Damon and South Damon, for engine 23 and tower ladder 5, and I wonder if any material ever was misdirected or something, But anyway, this is a nice house. You can see that's the hazmat spare rig for the hazmat. They're out. They're probably doing hydrants also. They do have a drive-through feature, and it was sort of a vacant lot or a junkyard lot or something, and the fire department decided to move, and they were only 3 blocks away, so you'll see the old building too. On the left here, you see a Little League field, but you notice they're building some new construction. For your beer drinkers, this building on the left here, it says Synergy Center, that was a brewery. And they used to have an outside tap that anybody could, in their property, of course, but anybody could just, take a little swig. It was called testing the brew, it was part of your official duties. Coming up to number 5, you see the former Firehouse 35 and truck 28. It'll be on your left.
On the left, so we could probably just go by there kind of slow.
Yeah, just slow.
We'll turn right on north
The
again.
engine side is to the farthest
Right.
north. You notice up at the top it has the city seal, which you don't see very often. And then the truck house is the addition. It just says truck house number 28. And those buildings date from 1894 and 1904. Can you imagine this neighborhood, which was very well built up by 1904, running without truck 28 in here? You had truck 13 to the northwest,
You want to go right around this?
and
No, straight down
truck
North Avenue.
19 and truck 7 trying to cover this area, and they were getting fires, so the truck was busy right from the get-go. As we turn left here, right under the elevated tracks, look to your left, you'll see an old frame coach house. We think that was part of, see it back there with the yellow and green there? We think that was the coach house associated with Engine 35's first house. It might have housed extra horses. On the Robinson Atlas of 1886, the firehouse shows there with that frame coach house on the same lot, so it possibly was a fire department building. Fire department did do that occasionally, ran coal wagons and supply wagons out of separate buildings, but we do not have any specific knowledge that the building was built for the fire department, but the fact it was on the fire department lot sort of indicates that it was. You got to remember at that time this was about the farthest northwest firehouse. They maybe didn't want to run to the repair shops for extra horses or extra horses. You want to say something?
Yeah, I'm gonna put this tape in for the Wabansie and Washtenaw. Oh, okay. The next location that we're going to be coming up to is Wabansie and Washtenaw, and we have a tape here of the fire traffic on that day of January 5th, 1982, and it was 26 below zero and 82 below the chill factor. And again, thanks to our friend Russ Coughlin for the master taping, and Jimmy Evans too, who kind of brought all these tapes together for me. I'll just stick it in and away we go.
Where does that work in?
Listen, Chief, we're going to give you a 511 alarm. We'll give you a 511. Do you have any specific instructions for the companies? Striker's going to get it. However, it's 113.
I'm a little fast here. We're going to go left on Wabansie.
Yeah, we're giving you a 511, but you want the instructions?
Right here.
213 a minute. Get some engine companies come and pull over this and lead out to the west. The thing is almost jumping the street on us. Okay, you want companies down Tallman to lead out to the west? Some engine companies, yes. Okay, attention all companies. What engines are responding to the 411 that are not committed? I want to know what engine companies are responding that are not committed. Engine 69. 69, you're not committed? We're not in the team yet. Okay, when you get there, you lead out on Tallman to the west. On Tallman to the west, 69. On Tallman to the west. That's right. What other engine companies? 14. 14, same message for you. On west on Tallman. That's right. 103. 103 also? On Tallman to the west. That's right. 2 on 13, you got engines 69, 14, and 103.
See how we handle it. He's got 3 engines.
Okay, 26.
I imagine it was a special.
68? We're on a fire team. Alright, 68. 2 on 13 is requesting companies on Tallman to the west.
Popped up on here a few times. Yeah, Jack did,
68? 68 on Tallman from the west. That's right. 2 on 13, I give you 68, 69, 14, and 103. Go on Tallman. Okay,
Yes.
Okay, attention, engine 68, engine 69, engine 14, and 103. Do not wait for orders to lead out. When you arrive on the scene, lead out. Companies engine 68, 69, 14, and 103. When you get there, lead out. Don't wait for orders. Acknowledge engine 14. 511 Iron Fire at 1752 North Washington, ours at 213. 511 Iron.
This is Tallman where we are right now. The fires were to the north of here, and the next corner is Wabansie, but we'll sit here for a second.
Washington Avenue. We've got 2 flames on the east side of the street. Yeah, 8 buildings going. Okay, 213.
Travel northeast.
What's your location? 218.
As a dispatcher, you hear is Art Banker.
Yeah, Barretto was 16. He had the fire up on Junior Terrace. 16. He was 16. Yeah, he was the airport guy.
Well, he was at the airport.
He was
out there at the time of the...
there's nothing showing. I only made a portable entry. You are? We are not going to make one. Okay, go on, service.
Right here, that's where engine 111 was located, and there is a picture of the firehouse. Really a beautiful little firehouse.
I think you see some of the new houses down there.
But you notice, a very old neighborhood, and I'm sure if you're familiar with fires, you've heard 43 and 57 and 35 on all these streets. Artesian, Campbell, Rockville, Tallman, whatever, Washington, Fairfield.
Okay, you're available, right? Okay, you meet 217. South of the tracks between Washington and Tallman. He wants you to lead out there. Hey, 217, 57 is really close by there. 57 to me. 57. My guys are still in that building and they're still here at Tallman. Can you get them out? Go down there and check out the backyard. Okay.
The reason we were not able to show you the site, first there are no buildings on the scene yet, but
No, we should be okay here. Let me check.
we ran into problems with the
There was a sign on the other side or something.
bus getting through the viaducts here.
Well, we'll check again. I've gotten out sometimes to look too. Yeah, did we check this one?
We did check it. And,
Perfect. Oh, yeah, we got about a foot. Look at you. Bang.
You didn't make the right turn.
Oh, boy.
The hell out of you, didn't
Well, we have a sky roof, that's all.
Jim, you're supposed to come in from Tallman, remember, lead out to the west. I think I can truthfully say that the few vacant lots you see here, Jimmy Evans and I made at one time or another. Cortland in California.
How far up is Dave?
Yeah, about 2 blocks north of the light.
Now we're going to put you to a good tit out.
You'll notice. Notice some of the
We're going to do a sharp right.
sort of unique street names. We're going by Francis Place here. The little area to our right is a triangular shaped district bounded by Armitage, California, and Milwaukee. And when they laid this out, before it came into Chicago, take a look on your right, you'll see a little street there called Henry Court. That's all there is to it. Just a little dead-end street, and there's a whole series of them in there. Cheney and Julia Court, St. Mary's, and we're going to
Swing right around there.
take a right here on State. You notice the building on the left is the Shakespeare Police Station, the new Shakespeare Police Station. Always took an address on California, but since it was at Shakespeare, corner of Shakespeare, they always called it Shakespeare Police Station. Anyway, we're swinging onto Stave, S-T-A-V-E, crossing St. George's Court. The firehouse is on our left, engine 43, now ambulance 3. This was the house that Squad 6 ran from. They were organized here in 1919 and were here until they were taken out of service. Typical of the buildings built for the motorized apparatus was built for a motorized steamer and hose wagon. I've got a picture of them on the ramp here.
Is this the only house that's still short?
No, I think 120 is still short and old 49.
Tom, this is one of those houses just like we were in, but short. Okay.
Yeah, with Squad 6 here, of course, they responded on fires, inhalators, accidents, the whole northwest side, and extremely busy. The 6th Division was in here for a long time. Must have had fun being awakened every time the squad had a run. And Jim is going to try and go onto Prindeville. This is a street named for the Prindeville family. And this was a town hall location for the town of Jefferson. And Chicago picked it up on annexation, turned the building into a firehouse. They had been running a volunteer fire company out of there also.
North on Milwaukee.
Notice there was a small little addition built for a kitchen. It's the only house they ever did that to, other than extending for hook and ladders. We're turning now northwest onto Milwaukee. On your right is the Max Gerber plumbing supply company, very well known, very active in kitchen and bathroom supplies. Yeah, Steve Mizella is the major domo here. Him and his father both work here. Steve's in the FBI. And you notice some of the narrow side streets here if you look to the left. A whole series of streets.
They don't have any here. In New York, they still got them. Out in LA, they
narrow. This street here is Medill has got a whole bunch of garages on it.
I call this the tractor trailer bus.
Small little houses.
We call it a snake.
Oh. We're going to go left on Fullerton.
They had a really unique thing happen here, a real tragedy. In about 1930, they had a gasoline vapors in the sewer caused an explosion, and it flipped up a sewer cover over the roof of the building, and it came down through the building, through the elevator shaft, onto the car and killed the elevator operator.
Jeez.
Imagine that. And I guess they had been, there was some, obviously some gasoline in the sewers. We had that incident and another incident where they had a ice cream truck tip over in the summertime. Oh, what a delight, huh? And all the kids ran over there and they were helping themselves to the ice cream, and engine was washing down with a plugged stream. No chief at that time. Chiefs were responding in washdowns, and somebody flipped a cigarette or so, they think, causing an explosion, burning the kids. Anyway, with these two incidents occurring in the 30s, they then ordered a battalion chief to respond on washdowns, and always insisted an engine hook up to a hydrant when they flushed down gasoline. And use a plug stream. We're coming up to number 10.
I'll be up here in the next block, so you can just stop about where that guy in the blue shirt is.
Church. The church building on your left was Patrol 7's house. See it right there? It has been altered with the addition there of entranceway and small foyer.
Honestly, you can see that like
Considered as a firehouse. It also had a swing-down fire escape, which was very unusual. Normally, firehouses do not have either fire exits or stairs or swing-down fire escapes at all. always said the firemen could slide the poles, and that was their exit from the second floor. That causes a problem that when you buy a former firehouse, you must then put in a stairway, an extra stairway to the on the outside.
Oh, the picture of you on the picture in there in the back is in front of that house.
Yeah, the control. If you notice in the picture section, there's a shot of a patrol rig, and it's in front of that house. The 52 Ford there. And Bob Freeman kindly lent that to us, and he took that picture. We're heading now for number 11. You can imagine the activity when a fire was reported in this neighborhood with Squad 6 and Patrol 7 both covering a large district. By the way, Patrol 7 from this location went south to Madison Street, went north to Lawrence Avenue on stills, went west to Cicero, and east over, at least went to Damon Avenue, Jim? Like Lawrence and Damon, they covered a still from here.
Get there in no time.
Yeah, came down Damon to, I don't know exactly, but they cut possibly to Augusta, back to Western, to Madison, but they followed engines as diverse as engine 44 on the west side and 128 on the north side.
Wow.
And many of their runs to the south, they would go east to the boulevard, which is Sacramento, and that became Humboldt, and then would go through the boulevards all the way south. They made excellent time. In the area west of Pulaski, where Combination 7 responded alone on structural fires, they were their only support. They had a combination or a quad and a patrol and a battalion chief, and that was it on structural fires.
Next block.
On the right is the former quarters of 114.
Right in this opening here. So
It's behind the metal fence here. It's been recently sold, and it's an automobile repair shop. See it right here? But you can still see it resembles a firehouse. It has not been remodeled that much on the outside. The 6th Division was organized here originally. In 114 was organized here. Ambulance 3 ran from here with the old International for many years, and then reorganized here after the war with their Berkeley and then Cadillac. And then in later years, Flying Squad 5 and Ambulance 3 ran from here after 114 was taken out of service.
what house does this look like? Turn right in.
Chris asked what houses look like. This was, yeah, it looks like 114.
Does it look like another one?
It is somewhat unique, but it would have resembled somewhat the houses open. There were 4 houses open that day, 113, 14, 15, 111, 112, 117, all pretty much the same style. Interior identical, but there was a little bit difference on the facade.
Go straight ahead for a while.
Interesting, in the horse-drawn days, they had 3 firehouses along Central Park. At 1900, 2400, and at 3000. Imagine 3 houses that close. None of them are in service now, but 2 of them are still standing. And we're heading towards the next one, which is number 12, engine 91's original building. When it opened in 1901, the street address was number 1 at Elbridge Avenue. Try and find that, huh? You don't know where Elbridge is. And you notice Chris has a note there. It says engine 92 on the stone above the apparatus door. Don't know really why. It was planned under Chief Sweeney. Evidently he was going to organize a 91 and a 92, and this was going to be 92. There were only 90 engines in service. He was retired, got sick, and left the job sort of in a hurry. His replacement was Chief Musham. He comes out here on an inspection of the building, sees 92, and says, "You made a mistake, boys. It should be 91. They showed him the plans, and the foreman refused to take the stone down. It was in place. It was according to the plans. And said that's what it's going to be. And Musham supposedly said, "You may build a building, but I number the companies." So it became 91, the 92's house. 92, for the record, was organized the next year as a fireboat on the north side. So we don't know what old Chief Sweeney had in mind when he designated this 92. By the way, I think I read this building cost about $8,000 when it was built in 1901.
See a bill coming up on the right?
On the right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This,
Yep.
this neighborhood, by the way, is really solidly Polish. You will see Polish signs all over the place, and English is the second language here. Anyway, here's the firehouse here. There has been some brickwork. Part of it was because there was an old Seagrave engine parked in the house, and some fan somehow started the rig up and put it in gear and drove it right through the front wall while 91 was out on a run. We think we know who it was, but and it wasn't Kenny Duda, because he was in Knee Bridges at the time. Kenny knows
Where does she think he's going?
That's a woman driver.
Where does she think she's going?
Former Firehouses right alongside the expressway, and it is very difficult to see no matter how you approach it unless you're on foot or something. So it'll be on your right.
Well, we'll try and stop there for a second. You can see the back of it right here.
Yeah, you can see the back of it here, but they have since put an entrance ramp to the expressway right in front of the house. And here's the, it's famous for having the Walton Rudge sign on it. You can see
right in the...
this is the building here. It's owned by Argo Electric.
We'll just go real slow.
And
We can stop there. Tell them they'll have to look back.
yeah, you'll have to look to your right here, and you can see the difference in grade. If you look there, you can still see it has the fire department has been chiseled out, but you can still see the driveway. And the old frame house, which has been there since time began. There is a nice picture showing the horse-drawn apparatus in front of the house. It was in the style of old 104 and 14th in Michigan, 106, 108 on Lips and Mainsley, and 109 still in use at 24th and Whipple. But the facades and fronts are all different, but the interior are all pretty much alike. All built, you know, double house just for an engine and truck. But that house, for example, Light Wagon 2 ran from there. The 6th Division was in there since 1953. So they always had 4 rigs in the house in modern times. It was a good location for the division marshal to cover. We're now going on really to the north side. We're going to go through the housing project here for a minute. This is what this is called. I mean, I had one of these buildings blow up on us one Saturday morning. Fortunately, with no loss of life, but we hit a box on it and sent ambulances. You notice the construction here, not high-rise, it was a low-rise, although there are some 4-story buildings here. There are 56 still comes down here one day.
Rapid used to know the apartment where he used to come here. And I used to stand over there in the back where that poor car was there.
It looks like a fireman wandering around there.
I used to stand in the one.
Stop in front of us for a second.
This is a typical neighborhood firehouse, one of the 1936 PWA or WPA, whichever way. How they get the new engine and an ambulance in there, I will never know. With a shoehorn, I guess.
Yep.
Replaced an older frame, I guess it's number, what, 15. They've been on the site here for over 100 years, this building since 36. Rumor has it the old frame burned down. We've never been able to, like in January of 36. I'm trying to We got this out of truck 21. Engine 106 and truck 13. 6th Division all moved from Fairfield and Diversey simply because the firehouse with the Kennedy Expressway construction was just impossible to pull in and out of. I was here in this house before it opened, so that was like 33 years ago, so you check my age here. The engine always sits away back, and the deputy district is in the center. The chaplain pulled out of here for many years because he was stationed at St. Veronica. Light Wagon 2 ran from here. Also, for a while,
You see Light Wagon. Light Wagon's still in the back.
Oh, we're having a fire tour.
Oh, okay.
We're just
I
stopping
didn't-
to look at it.
we're not lost.
You want it again? Pardon? 0000. I'd say come on and have coffee, but boy, I'd have to make a few pots.
you'd have to make a few
A whole
pots.
bunch of pots.
See the tiller man back there? We're stopping at 112, so you lost out there.
Yeah, we're going to be over there. That's where we're going to have our coffee.
Tell the chief to come on over and visit us.
Okie dokes. Have a beautiful afternoon.
Well, thank you very much.
Maybe we can go over and turn right
Ken?
out very first street.
Yeah.
Isn't the Light Wagon still in the back there yet?
No, it isn't, John.
It's at 112, or it used to be 112 for a while.
What do they use the tower for?
Fire Department Communications. For those of you that were attending some of the Centennial celebrations, the two on the north side were only a week apart, engine 78 and engine 76. And when they finished with the water tower and the Aaron's Fox at 78 Centennial, they drove them to 106's house and parked them for that week. And then drove them over to 76's Centennial, so they were stored there for a week between the two Centennials. So must have been a lot of fun for the firemen in 106 and truck 13 having the two old rigs in the back of the house. It's a little bit sad, and I'll tell you why, because Mayor Bolandic officiated, and he already had lost the primary. He was not going to be on the ballot for the
Firehouse is probably where the light is.
upcoming
We're gonna stop
election,
here for
so
about
it was sort of a
45 minutes.
bittersweet ceremony for him.
Yeah, I see the flag. So
I
we
had a
can
chance to
pull
talk
in
to the city architect at the
Probably
time,
behind that red
Jim
truck. We'll see where
Seelman,
the spots are here.
and he was responsible for
Yeah, probably
the
right past their driveway. You
the,
can just right by the
design
red
and
truck.
management of the construction. And he noticed, as he looked at the plans, since the side of the building was on Grace, he was the one that put in the windows on the side here, which is sort of unique. Normally those houses would be solid brick. Before we leave, I just wanted to let you know that we're going to have a couple of activities here. Number one, the rigs will be available for inspection, particularly the driver of the command van. I talked to him this morning. If you have any questions, remember there only are 4 command vans in the city.
There's the muscular. There's the
Reality again, huh? Trying to come down the side streets again. If you're looking, we're going to number 18, 112's original building. Really nice building. Was out of service for a while, has come back in as part of the EMS Northside headquarters. It's Group North.
Oh, really?
North. Wow.
This one looks pretty good.
Yeah, this is
Over here they've got some, notice the newer buildings in there where they all look like they're wood to me. I bet they do to me too. Anyway, here's the firehouse on the right. Really a nice building. Hard to believe at one time they had Snarkle 7 running out of here. They were sort of organized here. 112 and the division marshal, all in the same house. And the city owned quite a bit of property. This building on your right at Ravenswood was a called Byron Sub. It was a electrical substation when the city supplied electricity for street lighting. And you see quite a long building, and obviously a city building. And then in this block was the former quarters of Fire Insurance Control 8.
Where that sign is there.
And they were here from 1922 to 1933. The building is for sale, and here it is here with the for sale. Now they show it built 1917. I don't know if that's literally true, but it might be. Anyway, they're asking $400,000 for that building. Pictures of it that I took 40-some years ago. Doesn't seem to have changed. Looks like the original apparatus doors. First floor is still just a garage, but the second floor is all an apartment, and of course it's quite long. And they did a nice job. Not $400,000 worth. This Chicago was Engine 86's original building. It's been out of the department since 1932, but is still used by the city as a ward office and a garage for city vehicles, streets and sanitation vehicles. It was the last of the frame firehouse designs. Has a bay window and a somewhat distinctive and extremely long building. We're going to park here and take a look to the left. See the building there with the brown siding. And Steve just indicated, you can see it's a narrow street, and making that corner turn there at Campbell west of us would have been a problem. It's the 47th Ward. That'd be Alderman Schulter. And but they tell me the building is now is dry run, and it probably will be torn down. The building was evidently extended for a coal and supply wagon around 1907 or so. And so that extension is still there, and so the building now is full 125 feet long, so it's exceptionally long. Still has the back door for the two wagons, coal and supply, to respond out the alleyway. So it's sort of an interesting throwback. Hopefully it'll be around for a while, but they tell me no. But you can see the length of the building here. You can see it through the, you can see the connection there. And then the big door, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but the big door is right at the alley there. Not quite. Lincoln Avenue becomes all German. I mean, literally all German. I guess they've got some sort of a fest here. If you notice the banner on your left.
Yeah, let's take a look up here and see what it looks like.
German American
16th, 17th,
Fest.
18th. Leland and Lincoln and Leland.
We can go out to Lawrence Avenue. Why don't you just go?
Seen that in the books, yeah.
It's, I think from around 22 or so. It was built for the Krause Music Store. That's why there's a K up in there. You notice the very
Take a look up there.
fancy ornaments there. Steve Eastwood. Interesting because Engine 70 was organized there in the old frame. And we're here until they moved farther north. The frame was off the fire department roster for a number of years, then came back in for 128 to be organized, or reorganized really. Then it was replaced by this building on your left in 1936, and housed both 128 and the 20th Battalion. And they were here until the engine was renamed or renumbered Flying Manpower Squad 6. They were organized here, replacing 128. And Ambulance 32 was organized here. Ultimately, they moved to 124. Lots of fire fans. Jimmy Evans and his brother Danny grew up here. People like Jim Nugent, Jack Carity, Jack Wall, Herb Gerke from
We were going to turn left on Sealy here, and there's a...
What? On Leland.
Or we're on Sealy. We're turn left on Leland, and there's a historic house up at the corner that's not on the tour book, but Jimmy Evans used to live up there, and some interesting things took place there. back,
Jimmy had his own fire alarm
yeah,
office.
Ken and Jimmy have known each other since high school. They both became fire alarm operators. They both became seniors. They both chased fires together. But they're probably two of the best fire alarm operators they ever had. There's a reason for that. Jimmy had a fire alarm office set up in his basement, up on the street here. And they used to go over there and play fire alarm office. They had a telegraph key, and I think probably Bob Freeman was there. We're going to go left here.
We had people calling in alarms, and
People would call in alarms, and they'd call them down to the basement. These guys would send out alarms. They had a telegraph key and probably box cards, and they had their own little fire department there. And there's another little story that goes along with this thing too. As you probably know, the fire alarm operators are electricians and they're members of the electrical union. And Jimmy, being the electrical wizard that he is, noticed one day that there was a fire alarm telegraph line going down his alley, an overhead line.
Not this
Not
house.
this house?
No, close by.
112.
Oh,
Over by 112.
well,
house.
Tell the story.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
thought you said it was this house.
No.
Anyway, it wasn't this house, but he spotted a fire alarm telegraph line going down the alley, and with his ingenious ways, he ran a couple lines from the alley into his bedroom, hooked it up to a telegraph key, and lo and behold, click, 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 he's getting stills and returns and changes. And you got to remember, in the early 50s, before radio, this was a real invention, because if you wanted to go to fires, you either had to hang out at a firehouse or listen for sirens or have a friend call you up. And so until the fire alarm repairman walked down the alley one day and was checking his line, saw Jimmy's little, it was Leo Halperin, they say. Jimmy got a knock on the back door and says, "Evans, what's this running from my wires into your house? Take it down." Jimmy says, "Do I have to?"
Let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal.
What? It was Leo. I thought it was Nick Herzig.
Backup alarm?
Leo.
Office. City Hall getting nuked.
We're going to go north on Lincoln. We can still go Lincoln to Western. Western,
Well,
Kenny Little, Jimmy
Well,
Evans.
you're at what now?
If you can just pull into that clearing behind the car.
And we're coming up to number 22.
Past it.
Engine 110 and 2322 on Foster. This house also was built short like engine 43 that we saw earlier. It was extended for a hook and ladder back in 1941. We've had all kinds of rigs run out of this house. Of course, 110 since 1915. You notice the wood pole there, which was an auxiliary radio, transmitter site. Anyway, 110 was in there, was built for a motorized steamer and hose wagon. They never had one. They moved in there with the Webb, the 1912 Webb. It had just been replaced at 102's house. Then eventually they extended the house for truck 43. They were here for some, from 41 to about 69. Then Starkle 6 ran from here. Flying Manpower 6 eventually moved here. 10th Battalion was in here on the reorganization before he went to 124. And now they've got Ambulance 40, so they've got just 110 and Ambulance 40 out of here now. Nice looking house. Yeah, Squad 3 was in there for a while. Squad 3 as being part of the newer squads assigned to the 3rd District. One to a district. Sort of, we used to put up their neighborhood just north of here, which is, again, sort of a delightful, little different neighborhood. You notice that while this is a main street, main arterial street, really one of the main fast streets, east and west streets on the north side, but you notice a lot of houses on us. On the right here is a huge school complex, grammar school, Chappelle, Amundsen High School, Winnemac Park. All the way up to the end. And we're just going to do a little sightseeing here. There is a Bowmanville Avenue, and we're going to go along it just to show you older neighborhood, but very nice. You're probably not too familiar with it because they never get any fires in here. The street sign takes north numbers, but it really should take west numbers.
Look at this place. Boy, I love this.
The new buildings on the right, I believe, were the site of huge greenhouses that supplied flowers to the cemetery.
Oh, okay.
and they were torn down, and these buildings built there. As you see, this is Sunday. It's quite isolated here, and it must be pretty nice. Now, there are some factories here, and we're getting close to Ravenswood Avenue, which is the main along the main line of the Northwestern tracks. And of course, where you have tracks, you have industry. There were some huge lumber yards here. Georgia Pacific was up here.
Here's one of these cops. They don't know where they are.
Yeah.
Look at this. What's this guy doing?
Car 2020. What is your location?
You got a report book.
It's at Ravenswood Avenue. Otherwise, we'd never be able to get east here.
But it so happens we found a firehouse at the end of the street here.
This is Belmore.
Yeah.
This is Balmoral, yeah.
Are you thinking about going back to Foster?
No.
Because I can't get under the viaduct there just before Clark Street.
No, we're heading north still a little bit. He knows where he can't get under. At least some of them, huh?
We got a bank up here that we call.
A what?
We got a bank up here on Clark Street that we
Oh,
good for him.
this is the only bridge that has clearance big enough to fit you under. I don't know what they did here, but they must have dug it a little deeper. I know the tracks aren't any taller.
Now, Foster is for the viaduct. Yeah.
It's happening every time.
Cops a lot of
One of these times he's going to do that, he's going to look up and he's going to be sky up there.
straight.
Yeah.
Now,
Hey, there's a site.
yeah, there's a horse-drawn carriageway and a Volkswagen just pulled out on 79. Take a look at, this is Old Edge and 79's neighborhood. I guess you could call this Edgewater, the Edgewater district. Sort of interesting. You notice a couple of stores there at Ravenswood. It goes a little bit off the beaten path, save people some steps. The firehouse listed as number 23, originally a frame, then replaced by this very small, tiny brick house. It's sort of a twin to 94 at Grayson Menard. At the time it was built, Devon Avenue was the city limits, and this was the farthest north firehouse. Here's that couple of this big old frame here on the left. You can see it goes back a little bit. Remember, this is part of original Lakeview. Was annexed in 1889, and this house was built in the original house in 95 for Hose 6.
We're going to turn left at the lake.
This is the house here, very, very tiny house. You notice it has the fire escape on the side. That was not part of the original building. There it is on the right.
There's always something to look back at as we turn.
As we turn, you can go take a look. It really hasn't been altered other than that. It was built by, believe it or not, a deal the city made with the Clearing Businessmen's Association and the 63rd and Central people. What the hell they're doing building firehouse on the north side, I don't know, but they said they would build 3 firehouses, including the one in Clearing at 6411 South Central, if Chicago would provide manpower.
What do we want to go west on here?
John Spellman, who was on 79 and when Fire Commissioner Quinn took over, he annually sponsored a Christmas, the Christmas decoration contest. And 79 won a couple of years in a row. Of course, the wags all said they never went to any fires, so they had plenty of time to decorate the house. And they won a TV set. I think they were first the next year, but they decided to give it to someone else. And then John Spellman was promoted to battalion chief and unfortunately was killed at a fire at 17th and Racine when he was chief of the 7th Battalion. Park and actually walk into the cemetery and show you the fireman's monument.
Okay, come on, ladies.
Here we are, Rose Hill Cemetery. We're going to go and take a look at the fire department monument.
You finished, Bill? Let Bill finish, and then we can all walk up there.
Wait till the group gets up here. We should have brought our cheesecake out here.
You know, in knowing some of the history of the fire department, some of these names just, you know, bring back memories. Jacob Held, who was a volunteer fire chief. He's the one, he spoke with a real heavy German accent, and he, when he was elected, they said, speech, speech. You know, he was elected volunteer chief of the North Side, and he said, the only thing he said, then the duty calls, there you will find me, goddamn.
You knew this guy too, huh?
Frederick Kaplan was a fireman at the time of the Chicago fire. Alexander McMonigal was foreman of Engine 1 the night of the Chicago fire. George Ernst organized what, Truck 2, possibly Truck 4, worked the Chicago fire. William Wachter, James Maxwell. And then you notice there are some, what really happened here was this monument really was started, the idea was started after the first volunteer firemen were killed in that tragic fire of October 19th, 1857. And they lost 23 citizens, 6 of them, about 6 were volunteer firemen. They're not quite sure, but the volunteer fire department buried, I guess, 6 people. 3 or 4 were definitely members of the department. And they started the idea of having a monument, and it took a number of years. It wasn't until it was about 1864 when it was completed. Leonard Volk was the sculptor, very well known. He also did the Douglas Monument out at 35th and just east of Cottage Grove, where Stephen Douglas, the late senator, is buried. He was related, he married into the Douglas family. And according to McQuaid's book, he said that when this was erected and completed in 1864, it was the first monument to volunteer firemen in the United States. I don't know if that's literally true or not. You can see it has weathered a little bit, and but if you start to look, you see the symmetry here. The fire helmets, the hose wrapped around here. There's some
crests on the little corners.
Yeah, crests on the corners. The various. This is a firefighting scene here. You can see they've got a ladder. They're putting hose lines there.
These things here, though,
the torches.
Oh, is that what they are?
Yeah, they're cross torches. Now, evidently, at one time, the area was much larger, and I think where this circle around here, it extended out that far. And I've got through the courtesy of, like I said, of Frank McMenamin, he's copied McQuaid's drawing of it, and or Andreas's drawing of it, rather, done in the 1880s. But by 1908, McQuaid in his books uses the word very bitter about the Rose Hill Cemetery people. And I said before this is a picture of it as it looked after the Rose Hill Cemetery authorities desecrated it and mutilated it, you know. So I think what happened is that they had some cement pieces around in a circle, and those were taken up probably to make this, you know, to make the drives around here. And they did it without asking the firemen's permission. Anyway, after a while, of course, all of the members of the volunteer fire department, their families, of course, all passed away. By 1867, they were completely gone out of the fire department. Some of them, as we've seen, joined the paid department, and this thing sort of languished until Local 2 did pick up and start to maintain it. And they always did maintain it, did have some memorials here, but it wasn't until Bill Kugelman, around, I think, in about 78 or so, really started to get interest in it. They do their own gardening and landscaping here. They've got one fireman that comes over on his off day and just spends quite a bit of time here and plants the flowers and makes sure that it looks nice. And then after that time, if you notice, there's no burial here from 1898 all the way to 1984. And Bill Kugelman's father, Oliver, who's a retired lieutenant, passes away. And Bill, in doing the restoration and looking up the records, found that there is some burial plots still available. So there have been 3 burials since then, one of them being this year, I see, Daniel Vinson, 1994. And I really, does anybody know any history on that? I really don't know. So there is some burial, although they find that, from what he told me, that the plots in those days were narrower than what they are today, so maybe they had space for, I don't know, say 20 or 30 people, and now they have, they actually only have a few burial spaces left, but they still have some. But every Memorial Day there is a ceremony here, and they've been holding it since '79, I think. And they usually have two hook and ladders. They usually truck 47 and 56. They put the aerial up, and they hold a memorial service here for all the members of the department. And
Now, was there a previous plaque here with these names on it?
yeah, it's an interesting question. Oh, I see it is rededicated. Yeah, October 7th, 1979. Yeah, this is a new plaque. I really don't know. I don't ever recall it. I remember coming here. I don't ever recall a previous plaque.
I wonder how he found out who was here.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the cemetery records would tell. Yeah.
Also, the funeral scene in Backdraft was filmed here. We heard that they built a fake one somewhere else, but we aren't sure of that. So it looked like this, so you can just assume this was the one they used. So they actually had the so-called chaplain was Stanley Spann. No, he was the chief. The real chaplain was the chaplain, Tom Mulcrone.
Father Mulcrone.
So when you see the funeral scene in Backdraft, you'll see this in the background. So,
and in coming out here, I don't know if you noticed did you notice the gentleman sitting there on the chair, Charles Hull? He is the original owner of the building known as Hull House. He died in 1889, had built that so-called mansion on Halsted Street in the 1850s when it was in an outlying area, when that was the edge of the city. When he died in 1889, Jane Addams came along and purchased the house, and of course Hull House is still a common word today and still remembered. So he's there. Frances Willard, who spearheaded the Women's Temperance Union.
yeah, that one's right.
That's right over here. She's buried right in here.
Oh.
While I'm not a cemetery fan, there's a lot of names head north, you're going to look at number 25. Someone reminded me, by the way, about Rose Hill Cemetery that they do have a memorial service there during Fire Prevention Week. And you notice the rededication there was October 7th, so it would always be in October during the week in which the dedication commemoration of the Chicago Fire.
How far is Rosemont?
5, you notice that the house on Rosemont was built for truck 25, so it was a single truck house. 79 was in there for a while when their house on Ashland and Balmoral was replaced. And then when they moved back to their new house, the one we just came from, the brick one, then 70 moved in here from Eastwood. And then truck 25 was moved farther north. This is an old building built for horses, and you notice it's quite cramped because they have the engine, battalion chief, and ambulance 13. Ambulance 13 was organized here in '56, and the old 27th Battalion was organized here, and then the reorganization became the 9th Battalion. So the house is somewhat crowded. The windows above both the apparatus door and the regular first floor windows were stained glass at one time, and they were very ornate, and I don't know what happened to them. They were replaced or whatever.
Firehouse, but the windows are different, so no, it could be this one. They had circular stairways. Does it have circular stairway?
This still has
a circular stairway in there.
Yeah.
And all the 1904, 5, 6, 7 houses were the same. 99 is the same. Maybe we can
Be too many really through streets. Glenwood is sort of a through street, but you have to take it if you have to run close by. Granville is a through street, but it's narrow. This is St. Gertrude's Church here. Father was a general contractor, and Burns Construction built the St. Gertrude's Church. Jim Sampson, former captain, lived right here at 1400 Hood. And I don't know if those of you that get the Sun-Times, there was a recent article about Bob Sampson and his relation to muscular dystrophy and his connection with the fire department. And Bob has been in a wheelchair since he was 8 years old, and he's 69 years old now, for 61 years. And he indicated in that article that he would have given up many, many times except for the firemen at 102 and truck 25, December 1st, 28th. And the engine 59 is there now. Poses a little bit of a problem. They have to park one in front of the other, and you know what happens? If the engine's in front, they get a run like an ambulance assist. They come back, they park in front of the truck. Then we give the truck the next ambulance assist. Now the engineer's got to move the rig, and the truck pulls out. And should I wait for him? No, I won't wait for him. Should I leave the rig outdoors? It's cold out. I'll back in. He backs in. The truck backs in. Then the engine gets the next run. And the truck driver has to go through the same routine. So it is a problem when you have two rigs sharing one door. A nice house, if you recall, it was the first house to be involved in a guy right in front of us almost became a hood ornament.
Jeez, he looks at us like, where are you going? We got a green light. Okay, pull up right here to the right where the flag is. You can just kind of...
As I said, this house, we had the first Centennial when George Lynch was captain of 59. It worked out very well. There's been about 10 or 11 of them since. Really nice building. Running with one of the Persh aerials on a Ford chassis, work done by Persh. You see the big Persh sign on it. Really a nice building. Terrazzo floor.
You can see the CFD and the cross pipes above the door there too.
Notice all the ornate ceramic tile out here, cross pipe CFD above the door. It has a day room, which might have been the very first house to have one or so, a little extension here. The back of the building fronts on Hollywood and has another nice ornate pedestrian door, which is very nice. So,
What's the name of the gal that did the art?
movie studios, which were located at this in this building when Chicago was sort of the capital of the movie industry, and this would have been prior to World War I. They had many stars there, and the S&A studios. Their logo, by the way, and the Chiefs' headdress are still on the building. And S&A really is two letters, S and the letter A, but rather than just put it like S&A Trucking or something, they decided to spell it out. And they had stars such as Wallace Beery, Gloria Swanson, who was from the North Side, graduate of Lakeview High School, Francis X. Bushman, Ben Turpin, and they even had Charlie Chaplin here, and he made a full-length movie. But they found that the climate in California was much nicer. They didn't have that many days of without the sun and raining and all that. So they moved the studios, moved out to California. Mr. Seelig, who was the S, became a movie mogul out there, and they were available. And for some reason, Engine 83's house on Gunnison was abandoned in 1921. It was a frame probably identical to 86's frame on Kyler. They're both built at the same time.
They're about right on
Tell the company numbers.
Right on Foster.
And
probably the light.
they were here for some 5 years or so.
Second one.
Second light, okay.
And Squad 4 was even moved up here from 78's house in the temporary quarters. One of the problems, as I've read, is that they had to heat, the city had to heat the whole complex. And they weren't using all of it, but they had to heat it, and it was fairly expensive. Ultimately built the building on back on Gunnison. They built a two-story brick, which was standing up, it's still standing, but still in use up until about 1969. In 83, the Squad 4 ran from there. But we're going to have to try and sneak in here a little bit to get back to Glenwood again. And it is going to be a little tight. I know it will be. Sense that they would come out here. This is a long block, if you noticed. It's really a 2-block stretch without, well, Magnolia comes in, but there's no 1300th Street here. And there's a cemetery, St. Boniface, right behind the movie studios, and at that time, they had their lot out there, and they would, I think, even use the cemetery lot because there were no burials at that point. House at the alley, plain little brick building, 1 door. Really can't get down there. See it right there? It's got the old no outlet sign on there. They had a frame here. They moved over to S&A, and then they moved back here. And they were here until 69.
Just stayed straight.
Until they moved to Racine and Wilson. So this was the main, particularly with Squad 4 here. The squads were exceptionally busy for fire runs, inhalators, and accidents. Joe Dykeman was captain of the squad here. And I'm sure some other people that...
I didn't know that one.
3. Anyway, here's the firehouse. A little bit different house. I'll tell you, it is not aged very well. When we go by it, it looks terrible. But oh, what a place to be a fireman. They were the busiest engine and truck for many years. 83, truck 22. Ambulance 31.
Hey Mark, there's Ariel we need.
Runs from here.
Maybe Cole isn't. No, he works
At one time, the 10th Battalion, 20th Battalion was in here. 79 ran from here, salvage 3 for a while.
So I got the 511 two special flight, 218 orders.
Now here's the new buildings that replace the ones that are in the picture in the booklet. If you kind of look backwards, you can see the view that was in that picture.
He's been struck out, ours at 218. The 511 away.
There's a tree.
At 1752 North Washington, has been struck out, ours at 218.
Yeah, the tree's still right here.
Tree in this building. This is
Big old well.
This was 20. Battalion 20, can you possibly sell for an engine in a truck? I'll take anything to give me right now.
This is all money in here.
Completely involved in communicating.
Number 31 on Dakin Street. Take a look at this beautiful street. The 700 block of West Hutchinson. Originally was called Kennesaw Terrace. Beautiful homes. Well, I guess the only thing is just to look at them. Just look left and right. Different architecture. Very expensive, very desirable. Sort of suburban living in Chicago, I guess. Chris, try and get the tower ladder in here.
Yeah, they were getting trucks in here. 9:15 is the bell.
Battalion 10, maybe they
Warm it up.
It's the yellow building on the right, the Ian Lenore Apartments. You can still see the top floors all boarded up.
Looks like we got some people in the window. We got a fire on the 3rd floor. Okay, Battalion 10 made to the 10th Battalion.
Chris, it was a Sunday.
It was a Sunday about noontime, just like today.
Just like today. Sun out. It was warm out. Oh, Mark, but it was warm out.
I know, I was a motorcycle. It wasn't a motorcycle.
I want to know what you're.
Up on number 32. Anybody that was here for the Centennial will remember this.
Stop, I think 78's up ahead of us.
Yeah, it looks like 78's up ahead of us here.
You can just pull in the slot kind of.
What a terrific Centennial celebration they had.
Oh, here's Firehouse.
Yeah.
But
Go right up in here. Mention that horses
the
here.
Firehouse is again one of the 1915 models. They didn't have the room to build a double like they did for 43 and 110, so they just built a single. And originally, frame Firehouse from Lakeview was moved from Belmont and Clark, right up Clark Street, up to Waveland. Hose 4 was the original company, and then when the house had to be extended, or I don't know, the second floor was added, and 78 was organized here. Notice Squad 4 was here, was organized here from 1918 to 25. Division 3 was here, and from 29 to 48. Also a few other division marshals. Division 11 was here, if you've ever seen the 1928 directory, and other divisions were here too. And Ambulance 6, of course, was organized here in 1928, and they are still here. So I guess that's sort of a record, 66 years in the one house. And they're the only one of the original 6 ambulances that's still running from the original fire station. And my son Steve was here for 11 years. And I'll tell you, there's something about a single engine house. When they get a run, they've got to size up the fire themselves. They're first in, they're all alone. They got to do a little truck work. They may come in with the pike pole and axe, along with opening the hydrant. And the hydrant man usually carries that in. So,
Jack's brother still working?
yeah, Bill Connors is lieutenant here, Jack's brother, and he loves it. Of course, he's a baseball fan. I don't know if he's going to love it as much with baseball not here, but
we can go ahead. I think we ought to go straight through. We're going to go to Racine.
Can't go plug that. We're not going to go down all the Vista Terrace?
We can go left.
Alta's over there. You have your bicycle, or if you got on foot, you can go there.
We can go south on Clark if we... That's what we want to do. We're going to go south, so...
We're going to go to...
78's a little block party down there.
What we originally intended to do was to go...
Let's go straight.
Racine to... at Weldon, Racine to Addison to Ashland. And then come in, from the
No, we don't want to go there. We want to go straight anyway. We'll just go straight to Racine. That's where we're going. Nice marked top card there.
Eventually, Weekman went broke, and William Wrigley
Firehouse at the corner. We're going to turn right.
was part of a group that bought the franchise. Ultimately, he bought out his partners, and since about 1926, it's been known as Cubs Park. Anyway, here's the firehouse here. Really nice-looking building, only occupied and built in 1940. And they had a separate door for the chief, the 13th Battalion. They moved off of Belmont Avenue. Goldblatt's wanted the building, and they built a similar building, another building with the light green brick. It was always interesting because you could walk along Greenview Avenue here and look in the windows and see the hook and ladder there, which you don't see very often. Too many firehouses on the corner. They followed the plans of the previous building on Belmont, which was only built in 1927, so it was only 13 years old. And they followed it even to having the kitchen up on the second floor. So it must have been the very last firehouse ever built with the kitchen on the second floor. To your right, on the south side of the street,
Take his place.
you'll see the location of former Truck 21. They had 2 buildings on Belmont. A frame that was built by Lakeview for Hook and Ladder 1 of their department. It became Truck 21 of Chicago. It would be on the south side where the 1-story building is. Still see the hydrants there. Hydrants are always telltale giveaway signs where the firehouses were. Although my son Steve tells me there's no firehouse in front of old 86's house on Kyler, so I'll have to look and see if they had one. They might have moved it because of the trucks going in and out and alongside the alley. I don't know, or maybe they never had one. There might have been an exception. Turned out to be a nightmare during the holiday season when traffic was backed up due to the heavy shopping conditions at Belmont, Lincoln, and Ashland. Sometimes Truck 21 would pull out of School Street and couldn't go anywhere except maybe east because everything was blocked going west towards Ashland Avenue. And they just had to get them out of that location. It might have been great in 1940, but it wasn't great in 1970. So they just had to move them out. And of course, Belmont Avenue was a tough place too because traffic backed up in front of the house, again from Ashland Avenue.
Right here, Chris. Yeah, we got a 12-2 here. Well, we didn't catch that one.
Well, also the streets blocked too.
Oh, way down there.
Diversity, yeah.
Yeah.
Back on the left so that the hook and ladder engine could park. You can see the hydrant is there.
What can we go east on, right up,
What are we going to go?
we were gonna go by,
Jim noticed that the height limit on the elevator was 12 too. Normally the elevator is up around 15 feet or so, and we never have any problem with it. Doing our run through, I guess we missed it. We thought ought to be able to go
how
through.
tall is this one? This one looks taller than that one.
It does, yeah.
How is 12.2 back there?
I don't know.
You know,
There's a height limit right here on this one too.
it didn't look 12.
13.
It looked taller, yeah. Yeah, I bet it isn't.
Unless there was something in the middle of you.
Marquee, he ran out of the theater, ran into the alley here, and was shot by the FBI, Melvin Purvis and his gang.
That's great, yeah.
That was in July of '34. We're going to have to miss number 36 because we just can't get in there, and we can't even go east on Fullerton. We're going to go by the plaque in Fullerton and Lakeview, although we found that somebody stole it. Somebody ripped it off. Notice the old tenement buildings here with the high windows and steps going up. Sort of typical Brooklyn, but not typical Chicago. The street on the right is Hudson. That's where policeman Bellinger saved his frame house from the Chicago fire. We'll see that on the Great Chicago Fire Tour. And this is Sedgwick. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a building right over here to your right that's all richly painted and decorated. See it down there? It's just about 2 or 3 buildings down. They have some metal sculpture animals
Way around to the
in
right.
their yard.
The building he's talking about is over there, I don't know if you can see it.
It's right here.
Yeah, straight, all the way into the park.
Going to have to do something. We're now entering Lincoln Park. This would be the main entrance to the zoo, at least from the west side. You can see it right here. And we're going to turn, hopefully, into Stockton Drive here. Great warm day. Looks like lots of people out. You notice this is the flower gardens.
Look for my kids, my parents.
The conservatory is to the left.
I didn't think you wanted to come straight ahead.
That dude all dressed up in a suit and tie and roller band.
Yeah. But
The rest of it pretty easy.
He's got a park.
Our 4th year, but actually about our 6th or 7th tour. And that thing's going a little slow, so if anybody'd like to
the actual
join us on that, it's on the actual 123rd anniversary of the fire. And then November 13th, we're having our 2nd Milwaukee fire tour. I remember Jimmy did that once with the airport. 19 left, right.
There's the Cardinals house.
Yep. If you take a look on your right, you'll see the Couch Mausoleum there. Looks like Mr. Couch and his friend are sitting out there.
wow, look at the
It's a
people
little
out
warm in there.
Oh, we've got a great view of the lake coming
And right behind the Historical Society.
Yeah.
Also, you see the building. I don't know if you can see it over at State and
See the
North End. You can see all the chimneys. I think it has 17
We're gonna get
chimneys.
on the
That's a
drive.
residence of Archbishop Joseph Bernstein, Cardinal of Chicago,
Follow the camp.
and our ocean anyway.
It's over 300 miles long.
300 miles. Jim says it's 300 miles long. He swam it one day.
Lake Shore Drive.
Polish consulate on the right. You notice flying the Polish flag there. When they had problems in Poland, Solidarity and Gdansk, lots of demonstrations.
You want to stay and drive?
Yeah, we're gonna go all the way around to Randolph on the drive.
Look how beautiful the lake looks, huh?
Yeah, where they open. Is that the older building?
Yeah.
Next to the old mansions that are left.
Yeah, you notice on your right, a few of the old mansions are still left here on Lakeshore Drive. amongst all the high rises here.
Oh, this one up here? 13th story, yeah. Yeah, oh, Mark Mitchell's parents live in this
Oh,
building.
the one,
No, right here, the old one.
oh, right there.
That building was designed by the same guy that did the Drink Hotel. And during the Depression, he lost his job as an architect. He was the Cape Tavern was the maitre d'.
Is that right? Wow.
He designed this place.
Classic East Lake Shore.
Famous Drake Hotel on your right, and this block that we're going along now is East Lakeshore Drive.
Probably the highest rent in,
Yeah, probably the
that's
highest
Fifth
rent.
Avenue.
Yeah. And every building has a 9 in its address. 179, 209, 219, 229. The building on the corner here is 999 North Lakeshore Drive. It should be, because it's on the west side of the street, should be an even number, but, you know, can't argue with what it says or what they call in. The steel and glass buildings, the black buildings, designed by Mies van der Rohe. Less is more. So he said. He didn't live in them, though. He liked an old-fashioned building.
This is the
Northwestern?
Yeah, it's Northwestern, but it's in the Bar Association.
Notice the horse-drawn carriage there at Chicago Avenue, American Bar Center here. Northwestern University has their law school, medical, dental.
This is a dorm for Northwestern. What a great spot.
Dormitory here, yeah, 710 Lakeshore. You notice the ornate, ornamental fence and gate. The Days Inn here was built as a Holiday Inn. It was 26 stories tall. It was the absolute largest hotel in their chain when it was built.
That's the craft building when we go around the corner here. Okay, right on the right.
On your left is Lake Point Tower, 70-story apartment building, tallest apartment building in the world. Kraft building on the right. Kraft Food had their headquarters for years until they moved out tech area, and now used by the city of Chicago.
To the right.
Okay.
Fire department has the medical and personnel department in there. Take a look on your right. Oh, I'm missing. Oh my goodness. I think I'll get off here, Chris. I got a few bucks here. Maybe I can trade in one of those cheesecakes or something. Famous.
Yeah, you go right down here. Oh, that's real tall.
Says 12 too.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, see right
Oh,
there.
yeah. Okay, stay here then.
Hey, good.
Oh, you know where it's 12 too is over right here. See, we should have gone down like we did before. We used to go wandering around. Remember, we wanted to do this instead.
Well, this we thought was better. I wonder what's 12 too. I bet it's to the left.
No,
It is to the right.
That's tall.
That looks tall.
That's
yeah,
real
but I'm
tall.
talking about up underneath there.
Yeah.
Going uphill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, see, you get up there.
Right
There's
there.
our famous,
Right in there.
yeah, see there?
Make it.
There's our famous skyline. Well, what do we take this to? This doesn't go to Congress, does it? We have to go to...
No, we don't go.
Sears Tower.
We go over here. So one of the
We go to Monroe. We goes to Monroe. It goes to Canada. And guess what? The last fire department building you're going to see today, I think, at least on our tour. Survive Alive.